The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
I just wanted to follow up quickly on the question about busing. Do you see it as a viable way of integrating schools? Does that relate to the policy that you're going to unveil?
Well, it has been something that they've done for a long period of time. I mean, you know, there aren't that many ways you're going to get people to schools.
What?
So this is something that's been done. In some cases, it's been done with a hammer instead of a velvet glove, and, you know, that's part of it. But this has been certainly a thing that's been used over the... I think if Vice President Biden had answered the question somewhat differently, it would have been a different result, because they really did hit him hard on that one. So, but it is certainly a primary method of getting people to schools.
What? Oh, it's July, everybody. Maybe it's the heat. Oh, my God. I couldn't believe that. And you know, there was so much crazy over the weekend. Do you know that? It was the crazy. First of all, let me just tell you, White Rabbit. Okay. And let me also say that you need to watch Gabriel Sherman's book, Come to Life, on Showtime, The Loudest Voice. There's only one episode, so there's no spoiler alert, but it's about, freaky Roger Ailes, and it's just, whoa. It's better than any. I mean, I could tell you every single day that Fox News is one vowel movement away from what it does to the news. Just replace the O with a U, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But this is going to go a long way, I think, to exposing the fake nature of that entire cable channel. So I hope you're watching that, because they are propping up idiot Trump, who, you know, shorthand it. This is what I call him. I call him it. It thinks that busing is a mode of transportation used to transport all children to their skills. Holy crap. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I could not believe this is the man that represents us on the world stage, and it's July 4th is coming, and he wants tanks. What? He wants tanks. Listen, I hope you got good plans for the 4th of July, because, you know, Trump is going to get his way. And from here on out, our Independence Day is going to look more like a Nuremberg rally than it's going to look like, give me your tired, you're poor. I mean, this is just so unbelievable. He is literally asking to have Abrams tanks and Bradley fighting vehicles on the mall for his garish salute to America. You see, now we know why he took a quick trip to North Korea. He needed tips from Kim Jong-un about how to hold an authoritarian celebration. Oh, this was just off the hook. This whole freaking stupid, amazing thing, giving all of this, validity and credibility to a hermit nation that literally kills its people. And the people of North Korea are on methamphetamine. Do you know that? You know, if you always dreamed of a, completely homogenous society where you could do as much meth as you want, that would be North Korea. And he goes there this week and he tweets at Kim Jong-un like a girlfriend to meet him. This is such a reality TV show. Do you know? This is like when the housewives take a vacation to Provence. Okay? This is like, for those of you who don't watch, how could you not watch The Housewives? How could you not? Ah, it's so good. The clothes alone. The jewelry, the purses. Okay, so if you don't, it's like if the Brady Bunch goes to Hawaii. You understand? It's a special episode of The Trump Show where he travels to North Korea for absolutely no reason. It's a very special episode of Trump where the Donald jumps the North Korean shark. Starring Kim Jong-un as himself. What was that? What was that? It was the sickest thing. And then answering questions at the G20 about busing. Well, it's a very good method of transportation. You know, I don't know very many ways to get kids to school. I mean, all that was left out was carpooling would be better. You know what I mean? He really doesn't understand anything about our lives. He doesn't understand one damn thing about anything about our lives. Not one thing. I mean, this is just so amazing. You know, and now, he's going to have Air Force One do a flyover for the 4th of July. I mean, you know, you better visit the Capitol soon, because when Donald Trump dies, I promise you, he's going to have himself, entombed in a glass mausoleum on display. Like Stalin. North Korea is the most Stalinist place in the world left on this planet. It is such a throwback to the USSR. I mean, it's just so unbelievable. And he stands there and he walks into North Korea with, Kim Jong-un. And you know who he took with him? Speaking of, one vowel movement away from what it does to he took Tucker Carlson. Who does that? Who does that? Who goes to a freaking hermit nation and take the most racist freak on the TV and use him to get your foreign, advice, to get your foreign policy? I mean, it's just the sickest thing. I mean, I don't know that. And between him, with the kids, oh, what was that? I mean, you had this hugely inappropriate appearance by the children of Donald Trump on the world stage. I mean, he, on the one hand, she's a senior advisor to the president of the United States. On the other hand, he's his beautiful daughter. Which is it? You can't have both. Either people are going to take her seriously, or they're going to look at her like, every other news model, every other, crony of yours. It was so off the hook this weekend. And then he was also asked about the end of Western liberalism, which means European and American democracy. Okay, that is the term. And Vladimir Putin gave an interview to the Financial Times, right? And in the Financial Times, Vladimir Putin said that it's the end of Western liberalism, meaning it's the end of democracy, and democracy is too. So they asked Donald Trump, why do you agree with this guy when he says it's the end of Western democracy? And it's because Donald Trump did not understand the question. You hear me? He doesn't understand that liberal democracy is the term that, freaking autocrats use for democracies of the West.
His comments to the Financial Times right before arriving here was that Western-style liberalism is obsolete. I know you probably haven't read the interview.
Well, again, he may feel that way. I mean, he sees what's going on, and I guess if you look at what's happening in Los Angeles, where it's so sad to look, and what's happening in San Francisco and a couple of other cities, which are run by an extraordinary group of liberal people. I don't know what they're thinking, but he does see things that are happening in the United States that
my God.
Would probably preclude him from saying how wonderful it is. At the same time, he congratulated me, as every other leader of every country did, for what we've done economically.
Shut up. Just shut up. I mean, I am so embarrassed. I am mortified. I really am. This is President Look at Me, everybody. President Look at Me, everybody could not stand not being the focus of attention. So he devised a very special episode of The Trump Show where he traveled to North Korea and met this crazy person who literally killed Otto Warmbier and sent him back in a death spiral of a coma. I mean, and then he told the Saudis, he was sitting with the Saudis, and he said that they're doing a great job. These are people who dismembered Jamal Khashoggi. This is just such a freak show of completely bad ideas, so he can get all the attention. I swear to God, it was because the Democratic debates were so freaking fine. They were so good. Fresh ideas. Bold ideas, good ideas, ideas that will make America again. And he can't stand it. He cannot stand it. So he needs to have some sort of an authoritarian display with tanks on the street. I have one word for you. Swatches. He's looking at swatches. Oh my God.
all things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
I just want to say that this is my honor. I didn't really expect it. We were in Japan for the G20. We came over and I said, hey, I'm over here. I want to call Chairman Kim.
And
we got to meet, and stepping across that line was a great honor. A lot of progress has been made.
No problem.
A lot of friendships have been made, and this has been in particular a great friendship. So I just want to thank you. That was very quick notice, and I want to thank you.
Oh my God! Why do people support this man? Okay, so the goal for North Korea, remember the first summit was in Singapore, right? And the Singapore summit was for complete and total denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula, right? And then he walked out of the Vietnam summit and he was like all peeved. And then, Kim wrote him a beautiful letter. And now he's tweeting at him like he's his summer girlfriend. You know, I'll see you in September. Come meet me at the DMZ. I'll walk into North Korea with you. And I'm going to bring Tucker Carlson. You know, you like him. You see him on the TV. And oh my God. Why? Nothing has happened. North Korea is still enriching uranium. It's got all of its nuclear weapons, all of them. There was one site that was damaged by an earthquake that Kim offered to shut down in exchange for a relief from the sanctions. And, Donald Trump is such a lunatic that he thinks busing is a method of transportation that kids use to get to school. I mean, it's just so sick and weird and twisted, and I'm so unhappy about him. And he's going to ruin the 4th of July. He wants tanks. It's just very strange. Why would he? And he lied. Oh, God, of course he did. He lied. Listen to this.
President Obama wanted to meet, and Chairman Kim would not meet him. The Obama administration was begging for a meeting. They were begging for meetings constantly.
Oh my God.
And Chairman Kim would not meet with him.
Oh my God.
And for some reason we have a certain chemistry or whatever.
He has chemistry. He has chemistry with every autocrat on this planet. He chooses to realign us with the human rights abusers of this century, the most massive human rights abusers he can find on this planet. He actually, wants to be their girlfriend. It's just so twisted and so un-American what he's doing. Now, Obama would never... do you remember when Obama said that he would meet with anybody? Anybody on the planet? Anybody at all? Our friends, our enemies? He would meet with anybody? And Fox News? Oh my God, they trashed him. Oh, what's wrong with Barack Obama? No preconditions. Why, he's a traitor. He's a secret Muslim. That's why he'll meet with Saudi Arabia. It was the sickest, and now that Trump is doing it, he's like, he needs the Nobel Prize. Nobody's ever thought of this before. Except, first I want to play you James Clapper saying Obama never wanted to meet with Kim Jong-un.
I actually stepped in with Chairman Kim. I stepped into North Korea. And they say that's a very historic moment, and I think it is a historic moment and a very good moment. And
oh my God.
He asked me, would you like to do that? And I said it would be my honor, and we did, and we went over the line and turned around, and everybody was so happy. And many people, I noticed, from Korea were literally in tears, crying. This is a big thing. It's a big thing.
It's supposed to be James Clapper, but that is 7. That was 7. Anyway, let me play the mash. This is unbelievable.
I will meet not just with our friends, but with our enemies.
President Obama likes talking to dictators.
He would meet with some of these madmen without any preconditions.
I'm going to reach out to these crazy people around the world and try to get things done.
Yeah.
So I think that's a mistake.
Obama is bowing and scraping before dictators.
What is Team Obama doing establishing formal contacts with these people?
a remarkable turnaround in relations between two historic adversaries.
The commander-in-chief's leadership is now leading to a major foreign policy breakthrough.
Another stunning Donald Trump breakthrough.
President Trump scoring a big win.
It's time to celebrate a great victory when it happens.
President Trump proves the experts wrong again and scores a stunning diplomatic triumph.
How about this? The fact that all he wants is to get them back to the table as a precondition. Not, I'll give up. If you give up your nuclear weapons, then we'll talk.
Why would the administration think that this is a group they could do business with?
I have no idea.
Those who hate us will always hate us. And the hatred for America is never going to go away.
It is a definite win for the president.
And it's a huge win for this country.
It's breathtaking, it's audacious, it's bold. It will be historic. I'm juiced about it.
It'll be magnificent for the people of Korea.
You're all going to hell. You know that? You're all going to hell. And you will be in the ninth circle right next to fat and sweaty Roger Ailes. You have to watch The Loudest Voice. I've only seen the one episode because that's the only thing you can see. They didn't put it all up so you could stream it, or I would have streamed it all last night and gotten no sleep. But they only do one episode at a time. It's on Showtime. And Russell Crowe, believe it or not, is Roger Ailes. This is the sickest, most twisted alternative reality that this country has ever created for, dumb white people to watch. That's what it is. And Roger Ailes freaking knew it. He knew exactly what he was doing. He honestly didn't want thinking people to get real news. He thought there are people in this country that want America to look like what they think it is, not what it is. And there are people in this country that want to see what they think America is, not what they think it is. And he wants legs and news models to tell them that America is what they think it is, not what it is. And that's what that alternative reality is. So there you have all those crazy pundits say, well, maybe I'll just go over there and start talking to these madmen. That's exactly what happened this weekend. Donald Trump literally took Tucker Carlson to North Korea. I think he sent Bolton over to Mongolia. He sent he sent the foreign policy experts over to Mongolia, and he took Tucker Carlson, I'm not kidding, to North Korea. And Tucker Carlson then calls it in to Faux News saying, well, it's a leader's job to kill people. That's what he said. Oh, yeah, there's tape. I have it. He said, Kim struck me as, he's a hard character. There's no question about that. Maybe a little off his game. I don't think he's surrounded by people he doesn't control very often. Oh, yeah, think, Tucker? He said he wheezes like an emphysema patient. He's not a healthy guy, but basically he struck me as being self-contained, but Trump was as happy as I've ever seen him. It really felt like it was the end of the world, the end of the earth, the middle of nowhere, with kind of not many people around, standing in the middle of the street. It was very odd. And I mean, I'm right next to Kim. I could have touched him. I was that close. And then he said, it's a weird place, but you have to be honest about what it means to lead a country. It means killing people.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
Yeah, I mean, there's no defending the North Korean regime, which is a monstrous regime. It's the last really Stalinist regime in the world. It's a disgusting place, obviously, and so there's no defending it. On the other hand, you've got to be honest about what it means to lead a country. It means killing people. Not on the scale that the North Koreans do, but a lot of countries commit atrocities, including a number that we're closely allied with. So, I'm not a relativist or anything, but it's important to be honest about that.
Shut up, Tucker. Just be quiet over there. I mean, it's not like atrocities or anything. I mean, you can't really defend. But on the other hand, I can defend it because it was amazing. I was just like with the president in North Korea. And he tells us that Kim Jong-un is sick. He tells us that he was breathing like an emphysema patient. I'm not saying that to be insulting, but he was breathing in a labored way, like he was out of breath, and even allowing for the historic nature of it, which I'm sure played a role in his breathlessness. But take as a non-physician this is a very unhealthy guy. Very unhealthy. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but that was the first thing I thought. This guy is in very bad health. He also believed that Donald Trump is truly in love with Kim. He said, I think it's heartfelt. He's not an admirer of the atrocities that Kim has committed, obviously, but Trump thinks he is a competent, scrappy guy. He's a scrappy guy. Otto Warmbier's parents must be so bereft. Oh my God, their heads have got to be exploding watching this. I mean, Jamal Khashoggi's family had to be just sickened by the thought of Donald Trump sitting there and listening to Donald Trump tell this Prince Salman that he's doing a fabulous job, and every single person in Russia who is trying so hard to figure out this alternate reality that they live in, where the news, journalists are killed routinely. He actually said, look, Vladimir, you don't have the problem of fake news, do you? And he said, no, it's the same. And what was left out is, it's just that we kill the journalists. And Jamal Khashoggi is a journalist. And the Saudis killed Jamal Khashoggi. They killed journalists. And Kim kills journalists. And he kills, University of Virginia students who rip a poster off the wall. I mean, this was unbelievable. This is such a twisted universe they got going on there. I just couldn't believe this weekend. And then Trump comes back and starts talking about how he wants tanks on the street for his 4th of July so that, President, everybody look at me, can have some sort of an autocratic, a salute to him. Len in New York.
Hi, I was calling you about polls. But I'll be happy to talk to you about the Orange Monster.
Yeah.
It's anything. He doesn't care what it'll take to get him on. I looked at Politico over the weekend. The first 6 stories: Trump, 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 Trump. He really doesn't care what it is, as long as he's the headline. And I think the one who's going to beat him is going to be Elizabeth Warren.
Oh, yeah?
Yep. I think Bernie's support is going to drift over towards her, and people won't feel comfortable enough to say Kamala Harris is going to go against him because of all the racism crap that people just don't want to have to deal with.
They already started, which is why I think that she is a threat to the Trump, reelect, because Junior, did you see what Junior did over the weekend?
Oh, yeah, beautiful.
What, the rotten apple did not fall far from the rotten tree, because Junior, just for those of you who don't know, was retweeting a person who said that Kamala, sorry, got to say it right. Kamala is not a real black. She's not an American black, and that she's lying to the American people when she says she's an American black woman because her blackness is a result of a Jamaican father. Okay.
Right. The hemisphere doesn't count as the Americas.
And then Chicken Crap Boy actually tweets it and deletes it so that I made a mistake. He made no mistake. This is birtherism, 2.0, and they must fear Kamala, or else why would they be going after her like that? And he defended Biden. I don't know if you saw that. He at the G20, Donald Trump was on the stage and he said, I think Kamala got too much credit, and they hit Biden too hard. You know why? He wants to run against Biden. He really wants to run against Biden.
Of course, but I think his nickname, should be Imbecilus. And if they start hitting, talk to somebody and go, "Oh, you mean Pocahontas?" If you want to make it a one-word thing, Imbecilus should work. for Donald. It's going to be as ugly as can be, but I think slowly but surely the support's going to drift towards her, because Bernie, her policies are so similar to Bernie, but without any of the rough edges.
Well, here's the new poll. Did you see it? Biden,
I saw it.
Biden lost 10 points after the debate. He's down to 20%. Kamala went up to 17%, so there's a 3 percentage point difference between the frontrunner, Biden, and Kamala. Warren is right behind Kamala. She's got 17. Warren's got 16. And Bernie's right there with 15. Buttigieg is at 6%, but raised almost $25 million since the debate.
I think he got hit terminally with the thing that happened in Indiana, and that was primarily because he had been there so long, and the percentage of black people on the force went down from 10 to 6% while he was there.
Well, I did see on Twitter a lot of people of color in his hometown tweeting that they support him and that he's not getting the credit that he is due for the things that he was able to accomplish there. So, it's still up in the air.
There's one other thing that I keep telling people. If he were a female, he would have a much better chance, because I think there are millions and millions of people who pay for porn who would have no trouble imagining two females in the White House are going to have a different feeling about two guys in the White House.
Are you serious?
I'm totally serious. I run it by people all the time. They start picturing. You see their little, bubble in their head.
So when you think of women as leaders, you think of porn?
When you think of people living in the White House, you think of what they do when they're living in the White House.
You do.
Many people do.
And some think of the American president, and some think of it as a, hallowed ground. Isn't that interesting?
You don't want anybody working 24/7.
Wow, that's very bizarre, I have to say. That's one I've never heard. We want two women in the White House because of porn. You need to watch The Loudest Voice. You really do. Women are really not in the mood to hear that, Len. You need to take us seriously. We are leaders. We are smart. We are people to reckon with. I think college-educated women want to see a woman because it's time, not because of porn.
The Randi Rhodes Show is live on RandiRhodes.com and the free Progressive Voices app for Android and iOS. Visit the App Store or ProgressiveVoices.com now.
She was given too much credit. He didn't do well, certainly, and maybe the facts weren't necessarily on his side. I think she was given too much credit for what she did. Wasn't that outstanding? And I think probably he was hit harder than he should have been hit.
That was Donald Trump at the G20 talking about American politics, trashing Kamala Harris and praising Joe Biden. Because he wants to run against Joe Biden. And being a pragmatist and all, I got to say, if America wakes up and realizes what I'm about to say is absolutely true, and that is this. If you have a really tough problem, if you have a really difficult problem that you need solved, ask a black woman. Ask a black woman. I've been doing it for 20 years, and they always get it. And they get it right. And they're fierce, and they are indefatigable. And I trust black women. Now, I don't know who the eventual Democratic nominee is going to be, but I can tell you that after that debate, she did so great that she's closed the gap between herself and the frontrunner Joe Biden. They're only 3 points apart. 3 points apart. Now, everybody, I think Julian Castro did himself some good. I think, obviously, Elizabeth Warren did herself some real good. Obviously, Kamala Harris was able to achieve the hardest thing to do. And that was, in 60 seconds, on a crowded stage, introduce herself to the American people, tell them what she stands for, show them what she stands against, and that she is a compassionate but pragmatic person And she was able to do that, and this scares the bejesus out of Donald Trump. You really think that Kamala Harris is going to stand on a stage and take crap from Donald Trump the way... I mean, can you imagine if, Donald Trump stalked Kamala Harris on a debate stage the way he stalked Hillary Clinton? I mean, I had a few pieces of advice for Hillary's campaign. Nobody really cared what I had to say, obviously. But the advice that I had was that if Hillary would have just looked at Donald Trump just one time in those debates and said, go F yourself, she could have won. Also, if she would have picked Bernie as her vice president. Just saying. She could have won. Matthew in St. Louis.
Hello, Randy. First-time caller. How are you?
Oh, hi.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
So you're the social psychologist. I had a question for you since you brought up the subject and Len did about how women think, and my women whispering skills are tapped out a little bit recently. Do you think a lot of the women that did vote for Trump and then have now regretted it, do you think they'd be able to admit it or swallow their pride or whatever you want to call it and vote for a woman, or do you think it would work against them again? Then I'll take my answer off the air.
Okay, thank you. I have no earthly idea what Trump women are thinking because I never understood them to begin with. They are a very, interesting group of women in that they voted for a man who said the P word and that he can do that and that he looks in on 15-year-old girls and their mothers of 15-year-old girls that voted for him. I don't know what those women think. I will tell you, women are not a monolith. We're not all the same. Some of us are, we parent this way. Others parent that way. Some of us don't want kids. Others do. I will tell you, though, that most parents agree, this country agrees, 98% of us agree that gun violence is a ridiculous thing that we have to deal with, and it should end, and that background checks would be a logical next step. Most women agree that the right to choose is a right that all women should have. And these are and let me tell you, it's July. I don't know if you know this, but a lot of the crazy laws restricting a woman's right to choose what is best for her family are being deployed in July. A lot of them started today. Some of them were blocked by courts. But many states are looking to make women vessels. They're looking to make women into handmaids and nothing more. Now, I know you heard that story about the woman in Alabama, in Pleasant Grove, Alabama. There's a woman named Marsha Jones. And Marsha Jones was 5 months pregnant and got into an argument with another woman at a dollar store in Pleasant Grove, Alabama. The police, Marsha Jones was then in this, argument, was then shot. She was shot with a handgun in the belly, and she lost the 5-month-old fetus. So the police first arrested the woman who shot Marsha Jones. And when a grand jury wouldn't convict or wouldn't indict the woman who shot a pregnant woman in the belly because they said, stand your ground and all that, and she had a right to defend herself and blah, blah, blah. So the grand jury would not indict the woman who shot Marsha Jones in the belly. So they turned around and they indicted Marsha Jones, saying that Marsha Jones should not have put herself in a position to have been shot, and that the only damaged person in the entire story is the fetus, and that Marsha Jones is just a vessel. She is a handmaid, an incubator, and the right of the fetus trumps the right of the incubator. And Marsha Jones is going to be charged with manslaughter. This is what happens when a fetus is treated as a person in the justice system, and the woman is simply a handmaid, is simply a vessel, is simply a petri dish, is simply an incubator. This is what they said, okay? In the state of Alabama, an unborn baby has the same rights as a living child. Prison time would be appropriate. You have to go by the law. Said Forrest Brown, 64, retired musician. Forrest. The notion that the law should treat a fetus like a person is widely held in Alabama. Lawmakers passed the most restrictive anti-abortion bill in the country in May, banning abortions at any stage of pregnancy, even in cases of rape and incest. Alabama voters approved a ballot measure that amended the state's constitution to recognize, quote, the sanctity of unborn life and the rights of unborn children over the right of the mother. Now, here's the dirty little secret, the really sick part of this story. Marsha Jones, who's being charged with manslaughter, has a 6-year-old. And the 6-year-old is going to lose his mother to the justice system because she is viewed in Alabama as an incubator. And now they're saying women in Alabama are not allowed, check this out, to play risky sports while pregnant. They will not be allowed to drink wine while pregnant. They will not be allowed to smoke while pregnant. They will not be allowed to do anything that any male jury in Alabama thinks would risk the life of the fetus. So you ask me if women will vote for a woman? I don't know what Trump women think. I have no earthly idea because they, in Alabama, there was a good bunch of women that voted for the child molester, Roy Moore. He's running again for the Senate. There's a good bunch of women that knew Donald Trump was a rapist. They knew Donald Trump was somebody that grabs women inappropriately, that stuffs his tongue down their throat. They know that he puts his hand under their dress on an airplane and, oh my God. They know he brags about it, and they know that he's got some unholy feeling about his own daughter. And still, they voted for him. They know that he inspects 15-year-old girls at the Miss Universe pageant. They know he cheats on his wives. They know that he's got 5 kids and, 3 baby mamas. They know all of it. They know he's a failure. They know he's a fraud. They know he's a demagogue. They know all of it, and yet they'll still vote for him. I don't know. I don't know what it is with them. I really don't understand. But just remember, all women are not the same, just like all men are not the same. All white people are not the same. All black people are not the same. All Native Americans are not the same. Everybody is an individual, and this is the kind of country I would like to have, where people are appreciated for being independent thinkers and not really give much thought to the people who cave into peer pressure to the point where a woman is nothing more than an incubator, and some women agree with that. Very sad, very sick, but here you have a mother of a 6-year-old facing manslaughter charges because she was shot in the stomach.
Mary had a little man. The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From Radio Beacon to Radio Beacon.
I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe it.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
All right, this is breaking news. This is a video I'm about to show you of a California Congresswoman, Judy Chu, who, along with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, made it into the detention facility in El Paso and now have decided that they're going to go ahead and go on to the detention facility in Clint, Texas, which is the one that's in the middle of the shrubbery, the one that's in the middle of the brush, the tumbleweed desert. And what they found there, AOC has been tweeting about it. Let me read you. Before I do this, because this is very, very upsetting, I just want to welcome everybody who's listening to us in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Hi, Santa Fe. Hello. It's really great to be back on the radio. I'm excited to reach you in this manner because this is really important. AOC was tweeting this morning, and she said, just left the first CBP facility. I see why CBP, and that's Customs and Border Patrol, I see why CBP officers were being so physically and sexually threatening towards me. Officers were keeping women in cells with no water and had told them to drink out of the toilets. This was them on their good behavior in front of members of Congress. It's not just the kids, it's everyone. Now I've seen the inside of these facilities. People drinking out of toilets. Officers laughing in front of members of Congress. I brought it up to their superiors. They said, quote, officers are under stress and act out sometimes. After I forced myself into a cell with a woman and began speaking to them, one of them described their treatment at the hands of officers as, quote, psychological warfare, waking them at odd hours for no reason and calling them, I don't know if I could say this on the radio, so I won't, but a W word for, women of ill repute. He was calling them that. And she said, tell me, what about that is due to a lack of funding? Then she said, now I'm on my way to Clint, where the Trump administration was denying children toothpaste and soap. This has been horrifying so far. It's hard to understate the enormity of the problem. We're talking systemic cruelty with a dehumanizing culture that treats them like animals. Here is a video that Representative Chu made in the van leaving the McAllen, or El Paso, and going to Clint.
We just left the El Paso Border Patrol station, and now we're going to the Clint Border Patrol station. But what we saw was appalling and disgusting. We talked to a group of women, detainees, who said that they didn't have running water, that one was an epileptic and she couldn't get her medication. They were separated from their children. They'd been there over 50 days. One woman said that the Border Patrol agent told her to if she wanted water, just to drink from a toilet. And we also were there just as a CBP Facebook group posted that they wanted to throw burritos at the Congress members, and then had a very derogatory image of one of our Congress members, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. If they have these kind of derogatory feelings about us, you can only imagine what they're thinking about these detainees. These are the ones who are in charge of them. Well, there seriously has to be some change.
All right, so they were able to get inside and people are drinking out of toilets. Now, I just want you to know what the toilet situation is, okay? The Texas Tribune, it's in the homework today, the Texas Tribune article. I did not know that Judy Chu or AOC were going to be able to get into the El Paso prison. I also did not know that they were going to make their way over to Clint until the top of the hour, okay? So, but the Texas Tribune had interviewed about a dozen people who were held there after their release. Okay. And the way that they described McAllen, they said they don't shower or brush their teeth for days on ends. They watch their sick kids cough and cry through the night. And some of them brave toilets so foul that kids can't help but throw up inside of them. There are 200 in a single cage, seated on the floor, standing however they could fit. One 33-year-old man named Gary said, they don't have the humanitarian conditions for people to live there. He said the stench inside overflowing toilets was so bad it made him gag and caused his children to vomit. He said the bathrooms are so full they don't clean them. And apparently there's one toilet for 100 detainees. And the guards now add to that description there that was in the Texas Tribune this morning, are asking or telling women and children who need water to drink out of those foul, disgusting, overflowing, stenchy toilets. That's the stench. That's the stench. And you tell me that this mistreatment of human beings is due to a lack of funding? You know, the president wants to send the children. I'm not kidding. The president wants to send the children now to Gitmo, to Guantanamo Bay. That was news that broke late last week, that the Defense Department had awarded a $23 million contract to construct a, quote, contingency mass migration complex at the Guantanamo Bay Naval Station to detain 13,000 people, and it must be built to last a minimum of 50 years. The Department of Homeland Security had suggested last year that they send migrant children to an old dormitory facility in Gitmo. And now Trump is going to think about Gitmo because Tim Ryan brought up Gitmo at the debates, and apparently, he thought it was like a really stinking good idea.
If you go to Guantanamo Bay, there are terrorists that are held that get better health care than those kids that have tried to cross the border in the United States. That needs to stop. And I think the president should immediately ask doctors and nurses to go immediately down to the border and start taking care of these kids. What kind of country are we running here where we have a president of the United States who's so focused on hate and fear and division? And what has happened now, the end result, is now we've got kids literally laying in their own snot with 3-week-old diapers that haven't been changed. We've got to tell this president that is not a sign of strength, Mr. President. That is a sign of weakness.
This is sick. This is unbelievably unacceptable. This is gross. This has nothing to do with America. America is not that country. We don't do that. We don't treat people the way that people were treated in World War II concentration camps. We don't do it. And you know what? I got to tell you, because they were called concentration camps, and the debate became about the name of what we call kiddie jails. It became about the name. Not that we were jailing children, and children were literally laying in dirty diapers for months. It became about the word. Okay, that's what it was about. Well, a whole bunch of Jewish girls went to one of the detention facilities in New Jersey, and they were holding signs that said never again, because Jewish people don't have a problem with calling this kind of dog pound, this kind of torture of children, wrong. We don't have a problem with it. This is ugly. This is not us. This is not America. We do not prey on the most vulnerable of vulnerable, women and children. This is sick and sad, and it has to stop. And yes, the president heard Tim Ryan talk about Gitmo and thought, oh, that's a great idea. Let's send the kids to Gitmo. No Congress members will be able to inspect.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
Can you say it again in English, please? There's abuse in these facilities. There's abuse. This was them on their best behavior, and they put them in a room with no running water, and these women were being told by CBP officers to drink out of the toilet. They were drinking water out of the toilet. And that was them knowing what a congressional visit was coming. This is CBP on their best behavior, telling people to drink out of the toilet.
Oh my God. So now you know what some of the Congress members are doing on their July 4th break. Some of them are actually working. Some of them, because they're on recess, Congress is not in session. It ended last Thursday. They're just, not going to work. And all of this is going on. And some of the members, like AOC, like Judy Chu, they decided that they would use their time off to fly to Texas and demand to inspect some of these freaky facilities, these torture chambers, where we're holding women and children, toddlers, little babies, who haven't had a change of clothes, the lights are on all night. This is like Gitmo, except it's here and the congressman can inspect it. If they push their way in, and they have to request a 2-week, an advance visit, and then give them a chance to clean up their act and give them a CBP a chance to be on their best behavior and arrange to have some people seen looking, like they've had a clean change of clothes. I mean, this was them on their best behavior. And she's like, they know we are coming. And some of them are saying throw burritos at the congresswomen and telling women to drink out of the toilets in front of the congresswomen and not, some of these places, it's freezing. They're behind chain link fence. It's very cold in there. They're in wet clothes. People are getting sick. There's an outbreak of scabies. Scabies. Isn't that one of those things that you learned about like in 3rd grade that nobody gets anymore? All the diseases, it's like you learn about Jonas Salk and how we beat back polio. And then you learn about other diseases like the pirates used to have. Unbelievable. This is sick. This is sad. This is Trump. This is what Trump is feeding to his crazy ass base. Teresa in San Francisco.
Hi, Randy.
Hi.
30 years, Randy, outside of San Francisco here. 30 years. 10 years in Marin. 20 years in Sonoma County running a bakery. And I get everybody. I get rich people. I get poor people. I get working people. A lot of people that I get are shop owners because they want a good deal. And so I ask people when conversation turns towards politics, oh, why did you vote for Trump? Or, who are you going to vote for? And you know what? I get 2 answers from women. Because you asked, what do these Republican women think? And number 1 vote is clear cut. We want to pack the courts. We want to end abortion, overturn Roe versus Wade. And then there's the other group. They just hate those brown people coming into this country and impregnating their sweet little white daughters.
Oh, please.
I'm not kidding you. I'm not kidding you. Those are the 2 camps that I get. And this is overwhelming. And occasionally I'll get the intellect, and they try to condescend to me. And they're immune to anything you might say. They'll try to condescend to me on tax code. They'll try to condescend to me about abortion. They try all the hot-button issues. And I tell them, well, you're absurd. Or I'll laugh at them and try to throw some facts back at them. They'll say, oh, but I know. And I know they don't. I know they know the difference, Randy. But there's very, very few and far between where I get the educated person who's just trying to deceive me. Most of them, it's all about abortion. It's all about racism.
Well, if they don't like abortion, don't have an abortion.
Exactly. I say that too. Oh, Randy.
How hard is that? How hard is it?
I know. It's disturbing. It's truly disturbing.
Well,
they feel that the country was meant for white people.
Oh my God! Really?
I hear it in those. I mean, they look at me and all they can see is a white woman. They've never seen my Mexican children and my Indonesian child. They've never seen my children. All they know is this white woman standing in front of them. They don't hear me swear. They think that I'm a little goody-goody. So they want to talk about the horrors of abortion. And it's like, I don't know. I can't save these people. They're immune to all facts.
Well, what about the way we treat children now? What about that? Are they not human children, or is it because they're a darker shade? They have a little more melanin, and so therefore you can torture a child? Those children don't count.
They have the Barbara Bush attitude. Well, they must be doing pretty good. This could be pretty good for them. They're coming from such horrible situations. I've heard that too. Randy, I just retired after 30 years. I can't take it anymore. I don't have to do it. My youngest is out the door and off to college, and I don't have to be nice anymore. And in that last 6 months, I started, throwing people out and just saying, I don't have to take this from you. Take your agenda, and there's the door.
Huh. Well, like I said, you can't worry about those women. We just can't. And trying to win them over is a waste of time. I've told you that. I think that is a complete and utter waste of time. What I do know is that in the midterm election, right, 9 million more people voted for Democrats than for Republicans, and that is a very good sign. I understand that the white male coalition is, the Fox News viewer is really, it's a group we cannot concentrate on. We can't worry about them. You have to focus on women and men who will crawl over broken glass to get rid of Trump.
That's right. That's right. Can't say it any better. You can't save them all. And you've got to let those people you can't save, you've got to let them go. Let them go.
You can't. And I've said this forever. There's always going to be a third of this country that are the most ignorant, human rights, willing to be human rights abusers. Either they'll do it themselves and they'll put, their little khakis on with their stupid little polo shirts and start screaming, Jews will not replace us. Or...
Yes.
Yeah, or you're going to have the other third who are just, so open to peer pressure that they just go along to get along. There is nothing you can do about them. Nothing at all. One day history will ask, where were you when this was going on? And they will have to answer to God, okay? Or whoever, they think is going to greet them after they die. But I can't worry about them. I can't.
It's all true. And you would not believe how angry they get.
I don't care.
Give them a few facts.
But that's the thing, is
and
people...
you tell them, I'm sorry. Just say, I'm sorry, you can't be saved. And they turn and they start screaming how you can't be saved.
That's
and
fine.
You're going to burn in hell.
That's fine.
And it's like, good,
that's fine.
That's good. Just don't bring your business here. We don't want you. Goodbye.
You know what? I believe that children need clean diapers. If they don't believe that children need clean diapers, there's no saving them. There's just none. I just don't think, there's any room.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
This is a group of Jewish kids who went to a detention center this weekend. Which side are you on is what they were singing. So I don't think anybody has a problem in my faith, okay, with calling these jails, these kiddie jails, these privately run prisons for children where they're being mistreated, abused, and told to drink out of toilets, not even, it's not that they didn't have diapers, right? It's that when these children and women were interned, they took all their belongings away from them and then wouldn't give them clean diapers. Okay, so this is very sick and twisted. Obviously, this was a group of Jewish kids who decided to go to a I don't know what you would call it, a Gitmo here in Pennsylvania, a Gitmo here rather in New Jersey, and ask people, which side are you on? Because it is time to choose sides. There's just no question. It is time to choose sides. Either you're on the side of somebody who tortures children. Seriously. Either you're on the side of somebody who tells people to drink out of disgustingly foul, clogged up, overflowing, stanky, stench-filled toilets. Or you're somebody who thinks that ain't America. And there's a very bright line there, and you have to choose. You have to choose. Now, I will say Cory Booker is problematic for me right now because I read a bunch of articles today about Cory Booker. Last Friday, this past weekend, Friday, Cory Booker went to a fundraiser hosted by a guy named Joe DiVincenzo Jr. Now, Joe DiVincenzo Jr. runs a New Jersey ICE detention center, the one that was notorious, the one that first made the CNN for its rotting food and decrepit bathrooms and lack of outdoor space and other egregious violations of detention standards. That, according to a report from NewJersey.com, Essex County, okay, which is Newark, which is where Cory Booker is from, makes as much as $40 million a year from that camp, from that detention facility. And Cory Booker was mayor of Newark, as you know. And the experts who were able to go look at New Jersey's detention centers, they have 3 of them, all concluded each and every one of them was harsh and inhumane. And last year, a team of researchers that are associated with Human Rights First documented instances of detainees being placed in disciplinary confinement for reporting maggots in the shower. Yeah, they reported maggots in the shower area, and they were put in isolation. They were put in solitary confinement. Some of them were served raw and spoiled or expired food. They were all denied access to medical care for potentially life-threatening conditions. The advocates say that Cory Booker should not be going to fundraisers at the owner of these detention centers' house. Juan Pablo Orjuela Parra, he's an organizer with Movimiento Cosecha in New Jersey. He said that Booker likes to paint himself as a hero, but an immigrant detention center was built and another greatly expanded under his watch. It's hypocritical of him to say that he'll be there for the immigrant community when he's shown no leadership for immigrants in his own state. For example, driver's licenses for undocumented immigrants, he used none of his political capital to advance that. Well, apparently in New Jersey, state Democratic lawmakers introduced a bill last year to allow non-citizens to apply for driver's license, and it just died in the House, and there's no movement on that bill, and that would allow for people to have a driver's license, just like an underage kid who's not old enough to drink. Maybe they have a yellow line, or their face is on the license in the opposite direction as somebody who's over 21, whatever. And that would help them actually go to work, get to work and do their thing instead of starve. And so Joe DiVincenzo, he is a political boss. He oversees an immigrant detention facility cited for inhumane conditions, said Sue Altman, state director at New Jersey Working Families. And she asked which side is Cory Booker on. And so this happened Friday. And it was after the debate. And I have to tell you, Julian Castro did an outstanding job of giving this issue air. And I think he did himself a lot of good also.
There are undocumented children being held alone in detention, even as close as Homestead, Florida, right here, less than 30 miles from where we are tonight. Fathers and mothers and children are dying while trying to enter the United States of America. We saw that image today that broke our hearts, and they had names. Oscar Martinez and his 23-month-old daughter Valeria died trying to cross the river to ask for asylum in this country. Last month, more than 130,000 migrants were apprehended at the southern border. Secretary Castro, if you were president today, hoy, what would you specifically do?
Thank you very much, Jose. I'm very proud that in April I became the first candidate to put forward a comprehensive immigration plan. And we saw those images, watching that image of Oscar and his daughter Valeria is heartbreaking. It should also piss us all off. If I were president today, and it should spur us to action, if I were president today, I would sign an executive order that would get rid of Trump's zero tolerance policy, the Remain in Mexico policy, and the metering policy. This metering policy is basically what prompted Oscar and Valeria to make that risky swim across the river. They have been playing games with people who are coming and trying to seek asylum at our ports of entry. Oscar and Valeria went to a port of entry, and then they were denied the ability to make an asylum claim. So they got frustrated, and they tried to cross the river, and they died because of that.
On day one, sorry.
On day one, I would do that executive order that would address metering, and then I would follow that up in my first 100 days with immigration reform that would honor asylum claims, that would put undocumented immigrants, as long as they haven't committed a serious crime, on a pathway to citizenship, and then we'd go to the root cause of the issue, which is we need a Marshall Plan for Honduras and Guatemala and El Salvador, so that people can find safety and opportunity at home instead of coming to the United States to seek it.
See, that's what any thinking person would say. But the women that are going into our friend's bakery there in San Francisco, outside San Francisco, they're not thinking women. They can't figure their way out of a paper bag.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
Hello to all of our terrestrial radio listeners in San Francisco, Minnesota, Santa Fe, Charlottesville, and some others that we will be adding as we go. It's very exciting. And I just want to welcome you and tell you I'm thrilled to be back on your radio. But buy a stinking podcast if the commercials get to you. All you got to do is go to randirhodes.com and buy a stinking podcast, and you can have the show on demand without any commercials whenever and wherever you want to listen on any podcast app that you use. All right, Donna in Detroit.
Hi, Randy.
Hi, Donna.
I just want to comment. Hi. Where's Nancy Pelosi in all this? Her silence and her lack of vision and her inaction. She's becoming complicit with what's happening with the border, with Trump's growing attempts to just annihilate our democracy. If this country could do a vote of no confidence, which I know we don't, but she deserves one, and I think our party deserves a real leader that has some vision and some energy to really get some things accomplished here. She's just dithering around and doing nothing, and it's really sad. And it's not progressive. It's not who we are. And I think we deserve real leadership in our party.
Well, then we have to run for Congress, each and every one of us, get elected, and then vote for the majority leader.
Is there anything that can be done while she's already in term? I mean, she's already who she is the head of our party in the House.
That's because the people there ran for office, got elected, and then they get to vote for a majority leader, and they chose her.
Yeah. And nothing can be done in the middle of the street.
Why? No. Right. Exactly. Exactly. There's nothing can be done. I will say, for those of you who, don't like the way Nancy Pelosi is proceeding on the, let's say, impeachment front, or Nancy Pelosi, putting the Senate bill on the floor of the House last week, and you think it's her fault, I would say wait until after Mueller testifies on July 17th, number one. And number two, have a look-see at what the Senate did and what the Senate sent over to Nancy Pelosi and what the moderate Democrats did. And then make a decision locally about who you want to send to Congress to represent you, knowing that those people that represent you, when they go to Congress, will be picking a majority leader after the 2020 election. Just saying. I have a funny feeling everybody's going to change their opinion on Nancy Pelosi's stewardship of the impeachment inquiry after Mueller testifies, number one, and they'll say she was brilliant. And number two, as far as the financing of these kiddie detention centers, of these kiddie jails and these private prisons, why don't you have a look-see at what the Senate did? Senate Democrats voted for a Republican bill and then forced it on the House and told the House it was a bipartisan bill. And if you don't vote for it, the kids are not going to get the relief that you seek. Why did the Senate Democrats join with Mitch McConnell's torturers and sign up for that? That is where the problem was on this last piece of legislation. And then remember, 100 Democrats voted no. 100 Democrats said, no way, we are funding these detention centers, knowing that this is not a lack of funding that's causing this mess. It is metering, meaning telling people that get online to declare asylum, get online to turn yourself in to a Border Patrol agent. So the people get online. They literally give them a number. It's just like I told you at the deli counter. So you go to the deli counter and you get number 97. And you look up and they're serving number 20. And you ask the person behind the deli counter, how many people do you serve in 15 minutes? And they say 1. That's what metering is. And people are being forced to sleep in parking lots in Matamoros, in drug-infested, cartel-infested towns on the Mexican side of the border. And when they are terrified for their kids and they can't work, and they can't feed their own family, they then take their lives into their own hands and try to cross the river so that they can then turn themselves into a Border Patrol agent who will then treat them like Gestapo treated Jews. Put them in a ghettoized situation without running water, without food, without diapers, with their babies, and tell them, it's as good as it gets. For deterrence, which is illegal in the United States. So you could blame, Nancy because she's easy and you see her and you understand she's the in charge of the House Democrats, but you better look at the Senate and see what the hay went on there and why the Democrats in the Senate, even some of my good friends like Patrick Leahy did, voted with Mitch McConnell to keep funding these torture chambers. And then by the time it got to the House, Nancy was like, I cannot get the progressives to vote for this. And so 100 progressives did not vote for this. But it didn't matter because there were enough Republicans and a few Democrats who did vote for it and funded these torture chambers for private profit. So there's my answer. Liz in West Hollywood.
Hi. I've been a listener since Air America days, a long-time listener. Anyway, the lady, the baker who called earlier about what the reply was.
Right.
I worked in court and did some family law, some child support collection, so I have a background. What I would say to these people is, well, if you're such a good Christian, how many of these children have you adopted? If you don't want people to have abortions and they don't want the children, what are we going to do with them? Are you going to adopt one? An AIDS baby, a drug baby, a physically disabled, mentally severely disabled? There's a lot of children like that are totally unwanted by anybody. It's a good, shiny little child, smiley and friendly. Oh, they're willing to adopt those, but not the other children. And those are the ones that need help. And if they're such good Christians, they should be doing that. And
they're not.
I know.
They're not. They're front-running phonies. They're hypocrites. They're literally white supremacists. They're not good Christians. The Klan, shrouds themselves in Christianity too, but that is not a great world religion. That is racism, pure and simple. That is cloaked in the guise of Christianity. There is nothing Christian about not welcoming a stranger, period. There is nothing Christian about, listen, abortion is all through the Bible, and everybody who's ever read it knows that. There were potions that you could drink to abort a baby. There was permission to kick a woman in the stomach if she committed adultery and she was having someone else's child. I mean, they don't know what they're talking about. They just make stuff up to soothe their racism, because in the end, they know why they think what they think, and they're going to have to, live with it, that they're ugly inside.
Absolutely.
They're damaged. They're damaged people who, have given up the ability to feel compassion or empathy or, to respect another person. They just don't have that in them. They're empty.
And although they call themselves Christians, that's not a Christian.
I don't care what they call themselves. I care what they do. You could talk all day long about this or that. I don't really care. What do you do? What do you do when no one's looking? Are you kind? Are you kind to a child when no one's looking, or are you cruel to a child when no one's looking? That's all I care about. Do you do the right thing when no? That's all I care about. I will tell you, Pete Buttigieg hit it out of the park with this.
The Republican Party likes to cloak itself in the language of religion. Now, our party doesn't talk about that as much, largely for a very good reason, which was we are committed to the separation of church and state, and we stand for people of any religion and people of no religion. But we should call out hypocrisy when we see it. And for a party that associates itself with Christianity, to say that it is okay, to suggest that God would smile on the division of families at the hands of federal agents, that God would condone putting children in cages, has lost all claim to ever use religious language again.
Vice President.
Beautifully said. Absolutely true. Buttigieg is a religious guy. He's a person of faith. They love the fetus. They hate the child. And it doesn't matter whose child. That child, if they are born to parents who can't make a living, who are making $7.25 an hour, that child got what they deserve. This is their attitude.